Hi everybody, this is Dan Stolbarger. It's time for this week's KFIR Middle East update. It's the week of March 20th. That's interesting, March 20, 2020. Well, hopefully we'll give you sort of a 2020 view as to what's going on in this crazy week and these crazy times. We're going to cover, obviously, the COVID-19 hysteria. We're going to talk some about that, where we stand. I'll give you 5 different views concerning how Christians are really looking at this. We'll talk about the Israeli government and the blue and white wanting to partner or willing to partner with the Arab minority parties and the impact that's having on Israel. Again, we'll talk about Palestinian and the coronavirus, what Israel's doing about it. So again, this is a Middle East update, and then I'll give you some closing thoughts. So we always start with Newsbites. I find it noteworthy that the U.S. State Department has stopped calling Arabs living in eastern Jerusalem Palestinians. That is very noteworthy. And then, as I mentioned, Newsbites, and I should insert here that the PowerPoint PDF is available, and you should pull that up as you're going through this. There's always more material on the PDF PowerPoint than I have time for with the YouTube. So with that in mind, another interesting thing, Grand Ayatollah Nasser Marikim Shirazi, he took a break from hating Israel long enough to announce a religious ruling that it would be permitted to use a, quote, Zionist vaccine against the coronavirus. I wonder how that impacts BDS as well. But again, this Grand Ayatollah Persian from Iran. Every so often we get lulled into this sense that there's not a lot of attacks that are planned in terrorist attacks in Israel, but Shin Bet, they usually put this out on a semi-regular basis, but the head of Israel's domestic security agency, the Shin Bet, revealed that it had thwarted, are you ready for this, 560 terrorist attacks in 2019. The attacks which were prevented included 300 shootings, 10 suicide bombings, and 4 kidnappings. There's a few other things there that I'll leave for you to read. Again, get that PDF. And now let's talk a bit about this COVID-19 virus. I call this, there's 4 different slides here, and I call this multiple choice. Okay, so are you ready for the multiple choice test? Which one of these will you circle? The COVID-19 virus, A, is a natural virus that was caused by the fall when disease entered the world. Then the implications of that is that it would be prudent to follow the guidelines of the CDC and your local health organizations. That's A. B, the COVID-19 virus is a man-made virus that has spun out of control. This could be seen somewhat as a conspiracy theory, but the CDC states that the coronavirus, like MERS and SARS, can be traced back to bats. And many of the first patients in Wuhan, that's China, had a link to a large seafood and live animal market. They haven't found patient 0 yet, but the coronaviruses are zoonotic, meaning that they are transmitted between animals and peoples. So that's sort of B, man-made, out of control, got loose. Number C is that it's a biblical plague, thus a judgment of God. And I'm just going to let you look at the PDF on this, but I bring up the case of Phineas. You can read about him standing in the gap in Numbers chapter 25. And of course, if we think that COVID-19, that virus, is a judgment of God on the state of worldwide immorality, with everything that's gone on over this past few years, the gay rights movement, just the tip of the iceberg. We deal with transgenderisms, and we're reading about these drag queens that are reading in libraries. Is this the judgment of God? And if so, we always bring to mind 2 Chronicles 7:14, but listen to it carefully as I read it. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves, pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I'll hear from heaven, I'll forgive their sin, and I'll heal their land. So some look at this as a judgment of God, and the household of God always is first when it comes to repentance and standing in the gap. And the key phrase, if my people will pray. Well, D is that this is really the beginning, or it's part of the plagues that are detailed in the book of Revelation. I don't want to go into detail about pre, post, mid rapture, but some see this as you read Revelation 6, 7, and 8. You realize that a fourth of the earth is to be killed with sword, hunger, death, and then it says, and by the beasts of the earth. Now that Greek word for beast is actually theron, not zoa, which is used for everything else, but theron can be translated virus. Remember, the most dangerous beasts that this world knows are microscopic, HIV, Ebola, etc. Are we in the midst, or are we living in the times of the signs? Well, let's keep going. E, is this virus, COVID-19, is it just being overblown? It's really no more than an elaborate political ploy to destroy our economy that will ultimately bring down Trump. And so there's this shadow government behind the scene, and we're trying to discern what the real threat is and who's behind it, and we're seeing worldwide economies being destroyed. Is there a plot? And then finally, when you're ever in doubt, there's always this last one to fall back upon, F. It's the ever popular refrain from anti-Semites that the COVID-19 virus is really, the problem really stems from the Jews. They created it, and they're using it to destroy the economy in order to make more money. Blame the Jews. Well, those are some that might be out there, and I'll leave it to you to kind of discern. Usually when you take these multiple choice tests, you get to the last one and then it says both A and B, or all of the above, or none of the above. Just some things to sort of massage and just think through. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit now about the Israeli government. President Rivlin has given Benny Gantz the mandate to form the next government, even though he's in the minority, even though Likud had more seats than blue and white. And what's troubling is that it appears that there's so much hatred between the center left, blue and white, and others, so much hatred against Netanyahu, that they're willing to do just about anything, including partnering with the Arab Joint List. Let me just read you some quotes. Benny Gantz's decision to deal with the Joint List to influence President Rivlin into giving Gantz the first bite at forming a minority government is reprehensible. It's unconscionable, and it's against Israel's natural interests. Gantz has taken the bait to his eternal shame. Again, this Arab Joint List, think about it. They refuse to accept even the acceptance of the Israel as a state. And yet, because of their seats, can you work a deal? Can you use them? You know, if Netanyahu and Gantz and Lieberman would have formed or would form a national unity government, it would comprise of over 105 Knesset members. How would they be doing right now in effectively handling the COVID-19 crisis, restoring sovereignty to Judea and Samaria, working on the Trump peace plan, the budget? Instead, now Israel faces 6 weeks of political chaos and confusion as Gantz and his Netanyahu-hating coalition partners and cozies up to embrace 15 joint list Knesset members who revile them, who hate Netanyahu, and more importantly, hate the Jewish state. Well, I'm out of time, so there's an article here on dark days, only in Israel. For those of you that have been with us before, you know the Dan Panorama in Tel Aviv, and it's been turned into a virus clinic. You can see pictures of that. Interesting to note that in terms of the Palestinians, while Israel's working overtime, they're working for the Palestinians to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. The Arab states appear to do what they do best when it comes to helping their Palestinian brothers. Nothing at all. Okay, but again, Israel is helping. And then I'll end with this. This is my closing thoughts. I got this from Shorshim, my friend Moshe, and I want you to, again, I realize I've gone over a little bit, but I just want to read what he wrote today. Closing thoughts. We think we're in control. We think we're in charge, but this is an illusion. There are higher forces that are beyond our control. If you live with this perspective and heed to the periodic wake-up calls, you're going to live a much calmer and less stressful life. And you will see this as an opportunity to put your life in perspective. Did you wake up today? Are you growing? Are you making changes to your life? Instead of panicking about this coronavirus, let's take the time to be appreciative of everything we have. Let's focus on how we can better advance our calling, our life mission. We work so hard our whole lives for what? To obtain wealth, to obtain a place of importance, and we assume it will always be there, but as you can see, it can be taken away just like that anytime. And when it is taken away, what do you have left? What is truly important in our life? Perhaps we need to consider the world's present affliction, not just as in the context of a disease caused by pathogenics, but as a divine message reminding us that we've been given our lives to invest them for meaning, for virtue, as defined by God. Well said, Moshe. Something to think about. Shalom, God bless you. Wash your hands, but more importantly, be a community of prayer. God bless.